my name is Andrei Julido and today I'm in Puebla, Mexico. Honestly, I really like this place. I've been here before, but finally I'm ready to make a video about it. It's actually a small town, but it's not that small. It's like 1 million people live here, but comparing to Mexico City, which is like 22 million, it's a small town. It has a very rich history which goes back in time, and I just don't want to make this video boring telling you all about this. Let me just do a really kind of short story. Is that when Spanish arrived to Veracruz and then they settled later in Mexico City, in between there is Puebla, which was very important for trading because people were going from Veracruz to Puebla and then to Mexico City. Puebla is very famous for its special food, for its architecture. There is a lot of preserved historical buildings and churches. Also, it's famous for the Battle of Puebla, which everybody knows, like Cinco de Mayo. That was the day when they celebrated and defeated the much more equipped and bigger French army during the first Battle of Puebla. And you know, the interesting fact is that a lot of my American friends think that, and actually I thought the same before moving here, is that Cinco de Mayo is not this big celebration as is in the United States, because in Mexico, not at all. They don't really celebrate it. Actually, it was promoted in 80s in United States by beer and alcohol companies. That is like a big deal, you need to celebrate it. And that's how it became very popular in the United States. But here, there are just some kind of like government celebration in Puebla that happened, and that's it. At the beginning, Puebla was mostly inhabited by traders. People were looking for new opportunities and they were coming from all Europe to see what they can make here. Back at that time, when they started going to Puebla, Mexico City was mostly damaged from Cortez trying to conquer it, and there was no reason to go to Mexico City yet. So they started all settling in Puebla. Puebla was kind of like a trading post in the middle between Veracruz and Mexico City, so there were a lot of goods going back and forth. People started making a lot of money, and what people do with money? Start building huge houses. At that time, when they were developing the city, only the big houses were allowed, so only the rich people could do that. As you can see here behind me, those houses are like quarter of the block, third of the block, one there. It's really huge. So people try to show off how rich they are. But obviously it goes to some point where everybody is looking amazing and you cannot find anything new. And at that point they decided they need to clad their houses with tile. The weather is good here, there are no winters, so we can easily put tile and it will like sit there for a long time. But there was a problem. Tile was only in Spain. It was a problem a little bit later, because at the beginning they thought, hey, this is a statement. I'm so rich that I can buy tile from Spain, get it shipped here and tiled here on my house. It can get shipped here and my house can be tiled by tile made in Spain. Was not going very well though. Storms, pirates, just shipping routes were not that great, ships were not that great, and they started losing a lot of money and time. When a little bit later they actually found out that they have amazing clay, volcanic clay from around, there are like many volcanoes here, and they can produce their own tile. Through experiments they started sugar coating with corn sugar this clay, and it became very smooth, and what is more important, really durable. As the proof of durability, you can see those old houses right now that were built like 400 years ago, and tile still looks like new. Actually, behind me is the Talavera shop. Talavera is the name of this type of tile, like with the sugar coating, and it kind of one of only, or maybe one of a few original Talavera shops here in Puebla, because be aware there are a lot of fakes one. You need actually to turn around the plate and see they have this what it says Talavera Armado, and there is this sign 004. It's very important, so you know that you're buying, oh, I don't want to drop it, that you're buying actually the real Talavera and not a fake one. And they're not cheap, because you're gonna see that everything around here is pretty cheap. Those are not cheap. Let's go inside and look a little bit more in this Talavera. Actually, it was very weird because I just asked the guy if I can film inside. He told me yes, I can, and they're like, they'll already ran out, like, no, 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 you cannot take pictures inside. And I'm just like, that guy gave me permission. She's like, no, no, no. Okay, whatever. It's pretty sad that I was not able to show you the original Talavera Ceramics. Sorry about that. I'm not sure why I cannot film that. I'm not gonna steal any of their genius ideas there. But maybe we can find something cool here in this market called El Parian. This is very old market, originally dated back to 1760s when the people started trading, exchanging goods here. It was the market where all the craftsmen from all around the area of Mexico and neighboring places like Oaxaca, the people who were coming from Europe to Veracruz were coming here to exchange goods, sell their goods. So it goes way back in the day, has very rich history. I believe that probably this building is not back from 1760, maybe. I need to check it, I'll tell you later, but let's go right now and see what they have there. Unfortunately, most of the places are still closed here. It's just 10:30 in the morning. I don't know why they're closed. The bazaar should be thriving and going on, but maybe they just open later. Right now I walk in on the street which is called Calle de Dulce de Santa Clara, and it's very famous for its sweets. Most of the shops here are selling sweets. Behind me is the main cathedral of Puebla, which is called Cathedral de Puebla. It's located right next to the main park, which is called Zocalo. Here are a couple of very interesting stories about this cathedral. First of all, it is built by the plans and drawings that were made for the cathedral in Mexico City. But because back in the day Mexico City was in the ruins and they were not able to build it at that time, and Puebla was a thriving nice city and they needed cathedral, they just used the plans that they were made for Mexico City. Here there is another interesting story. If you would notice, usually the main cathedrals are always facing the main palace, like presidential palace or the local government palace. Why it was done? Because back in the day they believed that this president or whoever sits in the governmental building across from the cathedral has like the God's will and the God's power to rule the city. So that's how they kind of use this connection between cathedral and the main palace. But here in Puebla, there is no presidential palace here in front of cathedral. Why it's like this? There is a story that to the main bishop, who was at that time when the cathedral was in the construction, came the angel or angels and told that he should build the city orthogonal, like Manhattan. This is the map of Puebla. You see it's all like orthogonal streets. Basically reminds me of Manhattan. So if you're in Mexico and you really miss Manhattan, you can come here. It's kind of the same thing. And actually it's made out of real Talavera. Interesting fact here that the people who were building this orthogonal city, they were actually living outside the city on the other side of the river, because that was the area for poor people and this was the area for rich people. You remember how at the beginning I told you that they were building huge houses? So in this orthogonal plan, there was no place for the palace being in front of the cathedral. That's why the presidential palace here is on the side. Actually, in this case, there is a taco place, so here we know that the taco has the God's will and approval because it's in front of the cathedral. And you know, I always believe in taco. I think the taco has much more power in Mexico than president or any palace being in front of the cathedral. Another story here is about the bell tower. So the main bell weighs 9 tons and they were trying to bring it all the way to the top to the bell tower, but people were very tired, they were not able to do it, and in general they just didn't know how to bring that bell up. And what happened? They were very tired, they went to pray for God to help them to bring this bell up, and when they came back, the bell was already there. And the belief is that the angels came down here and put this bell up there. In general, they allow angels in this city, and for some time the city was called the Ciudad de los Angeles. So basically the Los Angeles Puebla, because this is the state of Puebla. Right next to the cathedral behind me, there is a small building which is touching the cathedral. Do you have any guess what it is? I mean, logically, you would think that this building has to do something with the cathedral. Maybe bishop lived there, maybe monks lived there, maybe someone else, whatever, right? It's kind of on the main square, it's a part of the cathedral. But really, not at all. So, the small house touching the cathedral was just a house of the very wealthy person who could afford to build right next to the cathedral. And maybe you would ask what kind of business that family had so they were so rich and so popular that they were able to do this. They were selling drinking water in Puebla at that time. So basically people made their money on regular drinking water. Right next to the Cathedral de Puebla, there is Casa de la Cultura, where we'll go inside and see very beautiful Ofrenda. But here I want to show you the Judicial Palace, which is very nicely decorated. Let me tell you a little bit about what Ofrenda is. Ofrenda is an altar which is built for dead relatives, for them to come back home and celebrate the Dia De Los Muertos. Ofrendas are usually built at home, at churches, cemeteries, and maybe some other places. They're usually dedicated for one or a couple of relatives, and they have 3 layers. So there are like 3 steps on the ofrenda. The highest step on the top has a picture of the dead relatives, maybe the statue of Virgin Mary. The second layer has obviously pan de muerto, sweets that the relative loved, maybe a shot of a mezcal, favorite beer, cigars, so when they come back to this world from the other world, they can celebrate and enjoy the things that they used to enjoy when they were alive. At the lowest level, they have candles, sometimes people put the bar of soap and maybe towels, so the soul can refresh itself on the arrival to this world to celebrate the Day of the Dead. Sugar skulls, calaveras, and orange flowers, chimpasuchils, are also all over around the ofrenda. Ofrenda is more of like Aztec tradition that was mixed with Christianity when the Spanish conquered this territory, which used to be Aztec's land. And tradition is mostly coming back from Aztecs, as they believed that the humans had souls and the souls would come back at some time to be with their alive relatives. And this orange flower, chimpasuchil, is actually Aztec's flower of death. As I understand here, there is an exhibition of different ofrendas to show what different regions are offering here. On the second floor in the Casa de Cultura, there is a very interesting exhibition of photography of the people ofrendas at homes. Since I'm already here in the Casa de Cultura, let me show you the Palafoxian library, which is a very important thing here because it was the second public library in the world. Palafoxiana, the guy who built this library, was a bishop in the Cathedral de Puebla. He was very rich and he sponsored a lot of projects in this town as this library. His idea, creating one of the first public libraries in the world, was actually to bring together native people and white Spanish people, and they had equal rights for the knowledge, because any of them can come here and learn about the God, the science, and other things. Very important thing to say here is that all the first layer here is the books about the God. The second layer here are the books about the God and people. And the third layer are the books about science. So you have this kind of the pyramid of the knowledge here. Just think about it, the library was built in 1646 and Palafoxiana back in that time already had the ideas of equality, because he believed that every human being is equal in its right, and most important, it's equal in its right to get the knowledge and to study. So all the indigenous people who were able to speak the language, read the books, were welcome here to talk and to discuss the ideas with the white native Spanish people who conquer this land. And I think that's actually very beautiful. This library is designated Heritage UNESCO place. It is allowed here to work with these books, but only if you are making some kind of PhD or research. And you have to have all the way protective costume, gloves and everything, because in those books, they are so old, they have some fungi, and when you work with the books, you can breathe and you can get some very old infection. That's why you have to be all in protective gear. In Casa de Cultura, a very nice man gave me this map, which is the Corredor of Ofrendas. So now we can find the most beautiful ofrendas in Puebla. Let's go. By the way, this Puebla La Churria seems to be the most popular tourist place in this town, because there is always a big line here. So to see Ofrenda in Palacio Municipal, you need to stay in a long line. But with the quick pick here, I can see that it's worth it. So let's go into the line. The line was not that bad, and here we are. Actually, this one was amazing. I really like these blue tones and blue colors and a lot of ceramic there. Look very nice. Let's see which one is the next in the list. This ofrenda, as we can see, is more traditional Aztec ofrenda. This is actually where the ofrenda take its roots from. I feel like I'm here in Puebla in like little ofrenda hunt, and I already see the next one. And this is the ofrenda. Actually, as I just understood, seems they are just decorating it in the process, so I cannot show you the finished version yet. I hope I'll be back here in the afternoon and maybe they're done, and then we will see how beautiful this ofrenda actually is. I really kind of like here this pan de muerta, the bottom, and you see kids are helping adults to decorate it. You know, maybe I can kind of like think about how I was decorating a Christmas tree with my parents. Maybe this is the same kind of thing here. It was very beautiful to see how family, relatives, or just friends were making this ofrenda. There is one more interesting story here in Puebla, and this is the Pass of the Frogs. So behind me on that side there used to be a river, and during the heavy rains the river would flood and all of the frogs would go from there to the highest point to be in the dry. So the frogs were just going up this street and all the way there. That's why it's called the Frog Alley. These paintings that looks like comics are called as bottom. Basically, there is a very cool tradition behind it. The whole story is that when something happened in your life that you believe that it was the part of Holy Spirit and it was, you know, the act of God, that the God helped you to do something and there was a blessing happening. After that, you went to an artist. You explained the story to the artist. Artist would draw what happened, and then you go to church and bless it, and then you have it as a memory of that. But nowadays the tradition a little bit changed, and still if you have some cool occasion, you go and you draw this occasion to remember it, which I think is pretty nice tradition. Think back in the day where the frogs were going up the street, they were going on the empty streets, and they were definitely not going on the thrift market, where you can find a lot of cool stuff actually. I really like this paintwork on the building behind me. This is probably the least impressive ofrenda, but at least it follows all the 3 steps that it has to be here. I just accidentally stumbled upon this ofrenda. It was closed, but a very nice security guy let me in. He said it will be open tomorrow and it's still closed, and the guy is still decorating it. But this ofrenda is like a 3D ofrenda, as you can see, and it actually looks, there is a pyramid in the center and like all the Aztec symbols. You see the Aztec dog there, you see the gods. Wow, this one is probably one of my favorite. Unfortunately, I cannot see it finished because I will not be here tomorrow. But even though what I see right now, I'm really impressed. This is probably going to be my favorite ofrenda in Puebla. Is there like a god there on the top?
It's Mitlantecutli, the god of the god of the dead. Yeah.
You know, first time when I was in Puebla, I thought like, oh, okay, just a town for like one day to wander around, to see everything, and it's good. But honestly, when I came here a second time, when I learned a little bit more about the city, about the deep history it has, I realized that I didn't even scratch the surface here, and this town is much more than you can think at the beginning. So research it, spend your time here, enjoy it, because Puebla is worth it. It's really great town. And thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel, put the thumbs up, put the bell notification to be the first one who sees the next video, and into the next one.